Today on Rooted, we're going to talk about jackfruit and how to break one down. These are amazing fruit. You've probably seen these in the market and wondered, what would I even do with this giant spiky thing? This is actually a pretty small jackfruit. This one's probably about 20 pounds, with as enormous as it is. But jackfruit can get up to 120 pounds. It is the biggest fruit on planet Earth. Jackfruit is actually in the Moraceae family, which is a relative of the fig or mulberry. Of course, it doesn't really morphologically resemble either one of those plants. They're located mostly in Southeast Asia and all the way over into the rainforest of Borneo, and they are a significant food source for those communities. And actually, they are delicious. They're a little hard to get into, and you've got to be patient. But we're going to go ahead and break this one down. Then we're going to talk about, in some later episodes, how we can work with the fruit and then also the seeds. You don't want to throw the seeds away. They're delicious. They more often than not end up in the trash can. But we're also going to talk about how to cook jackfruit seeds and make some delicious dishes out of those. So when you're breaking this down, don't throw the seeds away. They are delicious. We're going to use them. So one question you might have is, how do we know when a jackfruit is ripe? You can basically look at the outside of it. You can also feel how firm the jackfruit is. One thing that I look for is the ones that tend to be spikier with some of these darker patterns tend to be the more mature jackfruit. The ones that are more smooth and say harder tend to be the more immature jackfruit. Okay, let's get started. What I like to do with the jackfruit is we're going to start on the ends, cut those off. So the reason I like to cut the ends off first is so that we have a nice flat surface to flip this thing up on. There's a number of different ways to break these down, and they're probably all right. This is just a way that I found that's like quick and relatively easy. Basically peel the whole jackfruit first before we start cutting into it. And ideally I want to cut just a little bit off the edge of the fruiting pods that are on the interior of the jackfruit. This thing smells amazing, so we know this is a really nice, good, ripe jackfruit that's going to taste delicious. It's really a beautiful orange. So, okay, once we get it peeled, you see we have a nice peeled jackfruit. We've got a few exposed pods in here. So now what I like to do next is just go ahead and cut the jackfruit in half. It's this fleshy material right here. This is what we're trying to harvest. There's also a coating for the seed. We don't want to eat that. We also want to eliminate any of this white stuff here, which is super sticky. So this is what we're trying to harvest, beautiful flesh. So we're going to toss them in this bowl, and we're going to put our seeds in this bowl over here. So I'm going to basically cut this in half yet again. You can see the edge right there. So this is the part that we're not going to use today. And so I'm going to try to carve it right along that edge to free up each one of these little pods. So we'll get in there with our chef's knife and literally just run it right down that edge. So there, we're separating these pods, freeing up the fruit and the seeds. So there's still a little bit of flesh left on this. We'll get back in and pick all that out. All right, at this point, we're going to pull in our culinary assistant, Noah, to help us out because it's going to take a hot minute and we don't want it to take all afternoon. So we're going to get some extra knife help here. So Noah's going to start breaking down the pods that I've got freed up from the center. And so he's going to be peeling off this white material and then removing the seed, making sure that we don't keep this sheath on the seed. That's not a good part. So it took us a little while to break it all down, but you see we've got the beautiful fruit, this really, really nice deep orange, and actually the raw fruit is quite delicious. And so we've got some really neat dishes we're going to make with this. I'm going to take one of my favorite apple pie recipes and instead make a jackfruit pie, and then we're going to make a jackfruit chutney that's based on one of my favorite mango chutney recipes. We also save the seeds. What we're going to do now with the seeds is we're going to move them over into this pot of boiling water. We just want to soften them, and then we also want to remove this brown kind of hard exterior on it, and that's not going to be edible. If you don't wash them before you boil them, they're really, really slippery and hard to work with. So scrub them down to get as much of the mucilage off of the seed, and then we're going to put them into the boiling water. 30 minutes later, we're going to take them out, put them into an ice bath. Cooling them down makes it easier to get the exterior of the seed off. I like to cut them lengthwise down the flat side of the seed. It's easier to peel them once they're halved. And then they're going to be ready to use for a jackfruit seed Indian curry that we're going to make, and then also a jackfruit seed hummus. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed jackfruit, and I hope that you actually take the challenge of taking on one of these big spiky beasts. They're so worth the while.